If you've spent your whole life in Australia like I have, you would probably remember that there was a show, used to be a show on the ABC called The Chasers' War on Everything. And it was this bunch of guys, and they used to satirise current news events, stories of the day, all that sort of thing. But they had this segment where one of the guys would dress up in this top hat and he'd go out to the streets with a megaphone. And he was called Crazy Warehouse Guy. And what they were doing was they were taking the piss out of those ads that you see on some commercial channels, where there's like all these flashes on screen, this big text, usually in bold red or yellow, and there's some guy narrating in a loud voice like this, talking about all these specials you got to get on down this week in this big, loud, booming voice, and it's really intrusive. If you have the volume on your TV at a regular level, it always seems like they double the volume for this. And so they'd take this character, Crazy Warehouse Guy, and they'd put him out the front of certain stores or stuff. There was one sketch which was my favourite, where they went to the Easter show, and Crazy Warehouse Guy is narrating the rides while he's on them, and it finished with him being on this roller coaster, and he's yelling as he's on the roller coaster as they're going down the dipper and everything. And then he comes off the ride and he's talking about how sick he feels, but he's shouting about it in the megaphone as he's walking off the ride, and he's going, "I'm feeling completely sick, my head is swelling, my insides are literally walking out the door," and then he pukes everywhere. It was just the reactions of the people around him. But what they were doing was that they were sending up that particular type of marketing message, which it's done that way on purpose. Yeah, it's annoying and it's obnoxious, but it succeeds in grabbing your attention. Whatever you think about it, it succeeds in grabbing your attention and cementing the idea that if you don't take action right now, that you're going to miss out on these fantastic, never seen again specials. Now, obviously that's geared towards a certain audience. A certain audience who, in a rather generalised sense, loves a bargain and perhaps needs the kind of, generally it's homewares, but it's also often shoes or rugs that the particular company is looking to sell. It's those kind of people. But just imagine for a second how it would feel if you went into somewhere like, say, Louis Vuitton or a jewellery store, and the salespeople there used this same approach. Like, imagine if you came in and they started yelling at you like this, "Look at these specials on earrings, look at these chains, this is 18 karat, all that sort of stuff." How would you feel about that as a customer? Would you stick around very long? You'd probably walk out, wouldn't you? Like, when you go into a place, like if you go into a luxury brand store or a jewellery store, something like that, you expect to be spoken to and treated in a particular way. And it's quite different from Crazy Warehouse Guy or those kind of discount stores. And as a result of that, the tone is different. Now, if you've heard people talk about tone in advertising or copywriting or marketing, what it really means is the feeling that people get when they hear your brand messaging. There's a particular tone to it. And it's done deliberately with an understanding of who the ideal target audience is. You can see this again if you've got kids, or if you watch children's TV on commercial stations and you look at the ads for kids' toys. Look at the way that they're edited, listen to the language that's used, and you'll notice a distinct difference to that to, say, an ad for a funeral home or an ad for one of these European luxury cruises. And the reason for that, it's fairly obvious. It's because it's a completely different target audience. Obviously, 6 and 7 year old kids are going to have different sensibilities, and they're going to be wired for different things to 70-year-old retirees that want to enjoy a cruise on the French Riviera. So what I'd encourage you to do is just to pay attention to the language that's being used in ads. Just pay attention to their choice of wording, the presentation, the colours that are used, the font, everything. This all combines to create a certain tone. And the better that you can match that tone with your market, the more successful your ads are going to be. That's essentially what tone is. It's messaging matching your market. Because if you get the tone wrong, as the example I used, if you go in, Crazy Warehouse Guy at a jewellery store or a luxury brand store, you're going to turn people away. Likewise, if you perhaps use the tone that they use for luxury car brands with a discount store, people might not even know you exist. That's the importance of tone. That's the reason if you go to, say, the website for a surfwear brand, it's going to have different language and even a different style in terms of color and composition to the website for a retirement village or a luxury brand. So that's what I'd encourage you to pay attention to. Look at the language that people use. Look at how they speak, how they dress. If it's a live demonstration or if it's a TV ad featuring, we can actually see the actors or the people in the ad. Pay attention to those little things. And if you're writing copy, if you're putting together advertising material for your business, this is something that's really important, because it can just be a subtle change in tone that can make a big difference to the kind of response that you're getting. The most important thing is that your target audience, the ads that you're putting out there, the marketing message that you're putting out there, that it resonates with them. And you can achieve that through getting your tone spot on. And this is the reason that this is such an important thing to look out for, is because it's often a subtle thing. It's not always as much of a contrast as the two examples that I started this video with, talking about a crazy warehouse guy versus a jewelry store or a luxury brand. Often it's a more subtle thing. And it can even differ between two businesses who are in the same industry and serving the same target audience. But generally speaking, the business who manages to get their tone the most spot on is going to enjoy the best results in terms of how their target audience responds. So that's something to look at what you're doing with your branding, with your marketing, because there's every chance that your brand tone, it could be killing your marketing message. It could actually be turning away leads, and it could be letting you down when it comes to making that sale. So if that's something that you'd like me to check out, just let us know. I'll provide a link down below, and we can organise our consultation. And what I'll do is, anything that you want to get me to have a look at, I'll take a look at. I'll go through it with you, whether it's your website, whether it's your blog articles, your social media, anything like that. And I'll give my feedback on what you're doing with your tone and what we could change. Because it might not just be me that can help you, it might be somebody else, somebody who specialises, say, in web design or web development or branding. Maybe you need to change your logo or your colouring, but even if it's not something I can help you with directly, I can get you in contact with the people who can help you. But it just all starts with reaching out and making that first call, and we can sit down, have a consultation, we can go through that, and we can make sure that you've got your messaging matching your market and that you've got your tone spot on and you aren't turning customers away without even knowing it. So if that interests you today, just click the link down below, and I hope to chat with you soon.